I cheated on my wife with her best friend, but the real nightmare started when she secretly transferred $300, $0 from our joint account to her sister's offshore account, and then sued me for custody. Now I'm fighting over a house valued at $1.2 million I never signed over. I never thought I'd be the guy to get completely blindsided like this, but here I am. My wife, Emily, seemed perfect at first. Beautiful, smart, always the life of the party. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5, and honestly I thought I knew everything about her. But the signs started creeping in slowly. Little things at first, her phone vibrating at odd hours, her brushing off my questions about her whereabouts, and her suddenly being too busy to spend weekends together. I brushed it off, convinced she was just stressed or working late. Then, about 3 months ago, I began noticing strange charges on our joint account. Small at first, an extra 100 here, a couple hundred there. But then out of nowhere I saw a transfer of $300, $0 to an offshore account registered under her sister, Lisa's, name. That's when the alarm bells really went off. I remember staring at the bank statement, my stomach sinking. How could she do this? Why would she transfer that kind of money without telling me? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought maybe it was some kind of mistake, but no, the money was gone and she was the only one with access. I decided to dig deeper. That's when I started noticing her behavior changing. She was more defensive, snapping at me over nothing. She'd disappear for hours, claiming she was out with friends or at work, but I caught her lying more than once. Her phone was always locked and she'd get weirdly paranoid about me checking it. I felt like I was losing my mind trying to piece it all together, but I knew something was wrong. The woman I married, the woman I trusted, was hiding something huge from me. I just didn't have all the pieces yet. One night I decided to follow her. I knew it was risky, but I couldn't stand not knowing. She left the house around 9 p.m., claiming she was going to a friend for a dinner party. I followed her from a distance, and what I saw made my blood run cold. She went into some fancy hotel downtown, not to meet friends, but to meet a guy. I recognized him instantly, Jason, a guy from her office, someone she'd always said was just a coworker. But they weren't just talking over coffee, they were kissing, holding hands like a couple of teenagers. I stood there, watching her press her lips to his, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I didn't confront her right then. I wanted to see more, to understand what was really happening. That night I went home and sat in silence, my mind racing. I kept replaying everything, the secret transfers, her lies, the way she looked at Jason. It was like waking up in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I knew I had to face her, but I also knew the truth would be worse than I imagined. I just didn't know how much worse it could get. The next morning, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I woke up with a pounding headache, my mind spinning from everything I saw the night before. I brewed a strong cup of coffee and sat at the kitchen table trying to process what I'd witnessed. Emily was still asleep, her breathing even, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my whole world was crumbling. I kept asking myself how she could betray me like this, how she could lie for months, secretly siphoning off hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then go behind my back to meet some guy at a hotel. I decided I had to confront her, but I wanted to do it carefully. I didn't want her to get defensive or lie her way out of it. I waited until she came downstairs, acting as if nothing was wrong, her face carefully neutral. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Emily, I need to talk. I know about Jason, about the transfer, everything. I saw the bank statement. Why?" My voice came out more accusatory than I intended, but I couldn't hold back. I was furious, betrayed, and hurt all at once. Her reaction was instantaneous. She scoffed, rolling her eyes like I was overreacting. "Oh, please, you're making a mountain out of a molehill," she said, brushing past me. "Jason is just a friend. The money, that was supposed to be for a business deal I was working on. You're always suspicious. Can't you just trust me for once?" Her words felt like punches. She was lying so blatantly, so effortlessly, I almost thought I'd misinterpreted everything. But I had the proof right in front of me. I pressed her again, demanding details. She shrugged and said, "Look, I don't owe you an explanation. I've been stressed, okay? The money, if I took it, it's because I was trying to save us from some financial mess you caused. You're always so paranoid. Maybe if you paid more attention, you know what's really going on." Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like I was the problem, but I wasn't buying it. I could see the cracks in her story, the way she avoided eye contact, the way her hands trembled slightly when she spoke. She was lying, I knew it. That day, I felt an overwhelming mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. How had I missed all the signs? How could she lie so easily? My mind kept circling back to the money, the affair, the lies. I wanted to believe she was just stressed and lashing out, but deep down, I knew this was about more than just stress. It was about betrayal on every level. I couldn't trust her anymore, not after what I'd seen and what she admitted to. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was a stranger now. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept lying in bed, replaying the events, thinking about what to do next. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies and deception. I realized I had to make a choice, confront her further, or take some kind of action. I wasn't sure what that would be yet, but I knew I couldn't stay silent. The betrayal was too deep, and I was starting to see that the life I thought I had with Emily was built on a house of cards. I just didn't know how much more I could take before everything collapsed. The following days were a blur of anger, confusion, and a strange sense of numbness. I kept going over everything in my head: her lies, the money, Jason, the hotel. It was like a bad movie I couldn't turn off. I started noticing more things, small details that now seemed like pieces of a puzzle I'd missed before. Her phone kept ringing at odd hours. She'd disappear for hours without explanation, and her attitude was icy whenever I pressed her about anything related to money or her whereabouts. One afternoon, I decided enough was enough. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with her lies. I sat her down in the living room, trying to sound calm but feeling like I was about to explode. "Emily, I need the truth. I know about the $300, $0 transfer to Lisa's offshore account. I know about Jason. I know you've been lying to me for months. Just tell me what's really going on. I deserve that much." My voice cracked slightly at the end, but I was determined to get some answers. She looked at me, her eyes cold and defiant. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Just because you found out about the money doesn't mean you understand the whole picture," she snapped. I was trying to fix things. "You're always so controlling, so paranoid. I needed to take control of my own life. And Jason, he's just a friend, you're overreacting. Honestly, I don't owe you any explanations. You want to accuse me of everything, fine. But I'm not going to sit here and be called a liar by a husband who can't even keep his own business straight." Her words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I felt a hot rush of anger rising, but I also saw the desperation in her eyes, her way of trying to spin everything to make herself look like the victim. The truth was, I was furious. Furious at her betrayal, furious at myself for not seeing it sooner, and furious at how easily she could lie and manipulate. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what yet. The emotional toll was overwhelming. I felt betrayed on every level by her, by the woman I thought I knew, and by my own blind trust. I'd always believed that marriage was about honesty, about sticking together through thick and thin. But now I questioned everything. How could she have kept this secret for so long? Was there more I didn't know? The pain was sharp, like a knife twisting in my chest. I kept asking myself if I could even trust her anymore, if I could forgive her, or if I should just cut my losses and walk away. That night I sat alone, staring at the ceiling, trying to process the mess I was in. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to jump or turn back. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand answers, and maybe even fight for what was left of our marriage. But another part knew that trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. The betrayal was too deep and the damage too extensive. I realized I was at a crossroads, and whatever I decided next would change everything. I just didn't know if I had the strength to rebuild or if I should just let it all go. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Every moment was filled with a mix of rage, heartbreak, and confusion. I couldn't focus on anything but the betrayal I uncovered. I kept replaying everything: her lies, her sneaking around, the transfer of money, Jason at the hotel. It was like my entire world was cracking apart, and I didn't know how to stop it. I started digging into the financial mess. More, I hired a forensic accountant to trace the money she transferred offshore. Turns out, she'd moved more than just the $300, $0. She dollars transferred a total of $600, $0, all hidden away in various accounts under different aliases. I was stunned. How could she do this? How could she think she could hide this from me forever? Money had always been a sensitive topic in our marriage, but I never imagined she'd go this far. The more I looked, the more I realized she was planning something big. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, acting like she was innocent, but her attitude was more bitchy than ever. She'd snap at me for questioning her, accuse me of being paranoid, and then go out with her friends, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I started noticing her spending habits changing. Fancy dinners, designer clothes, trips I didn't know about. She was living like a single woman, and I was the only one left in the dark. One evening, I found out she'd been meeting Jason more frequently. I ran into her leaving a hotel again, this time with him. They looked comfortable, like they were already a couple. That was the last straw. I decided I had to do something drastic. I couldn't let her keep lying and stealing from us, pretending everything was fine. I started drafting a plan, a way to confront her head-on and get some clarity. I knew I had to get the truth out in the open, no matter how ugly it was going to be. But I also realized that I couldn't just confront her without evidence. I needed proof that she was planning to take everything and run, that she was trying to cut me out of our life. I decided to install a hidden camera in our living room, just a small one enough to catch her in the act if she started talking about her plans. I was angry, yes, but I also needed to protect myself. I couldn't afford to be naive anymore. That night I sat in the dark, watching the camera feed on my phone. I felt a strange mixture of anticipation and dread. I knew I was about to find out whether she was planning to leave me, take the house, the money, everything. I was ready for whatever came next, whether it was a fight, a breakup, or the truth finally coming to light. I just wanted to know what I was really dealing with. I never thought I'd be in this position, but here I was, clutching at the last threads of what was left of my marriage, wondering if it was salvageable or if I should just cut my losses and walk away. That night, I finally had my evidence. The camera had caught her in the act, talking on the phone with Lisa, her sister, arranging some kind of secret meeting. She looked nervous but determined, like she was planning her escape. I watched her packing, clutching her phone, and I felt a deep chill run through me. This wasn't just about the money or the affair anymore. It was about the fact that she was actively plotting to leave me, to take what she could and disappear. I knew then I had to act fast. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I was going to confront her with everything, show her I knew what she was up to, that I had the evidence. I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I'd been patient, but her lies had gone too far. I couldn't trust her, and I had to protect myself. I sat her down in the living room, my heart pounding, and laid out the evidence. I played the recordings from the camera, showing her talking to Lisa about the offshore accounts, about how she was planning to move everything out of my reach. Her reaction was classic Emily. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and tried to dismiss it all. "You're crazy," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "That's all just a misunderstanding. You're paranoid like always. You're accusing me of something I didn't do. You're just jealous because Jason is better than any guy you could ever be." Her tone was mocking, her words venomous. She was trying to turn it around, make me look like the bad guy, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish woman who'd been cheating, stealing, and lying to me for months. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could she be so cold, so calculating? I told her I was done with the lies, that I was filing for divorce. I told her I wanted the house, the money, everything she'd taken or attempted to take. She started crying, fake tears streaming down her face, trying to manipulate me into feeling guilty. "Please, don't do this," she sobbed. "I was just stressed. I didn't mean for it to go this far. We can fix this, I swear. Just give me a chance." But I'd had enough. I saw through her tears, through her lies, and I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. I was done being the victim of her games. I told her she needed to leave and that I was calling a lawyer. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Relief that I finally had the truth, and emptiness because I realized how much I'd lost. The woman I loved, the life I thought we had, was gone. All that remained was a house full of lies and betrayal. As she packed her things and left that day, I watched her go, feeling a strange sense of closure mixed with sorrow. I knew the fight wasn't over. She'd try to take everything, and I'd have to defend what's mine. But for the first time in months, I felt like I was finally taking control. I'd uncovered her lies and deception, and now I was going to fight to get back what was rightfully mine. The house, the money, my dignity. I never expected to end up here, but I was done being the victim. It was time to reclaim my life. In the days that followed, the legal battle became my entire world. I contacted lawyers, filed for divorce, and started the process of reclaiming what I could: my house, the money, my peace of mind. Emily's attempts to manipulate and intimidate me didn't work. I had the evidence, and I was determined not to let her walk away with a single penny more than she deserved. The house, valued at over $1 million, was in my name, and I made sure the courts recognized that. She tried to claim she had some right to it because of some vague contributions, but I had the documents to prove otherwise. The custody fight was another nightmare. Emily had always been controlling and bitchy, but now she was desperate. She threw accusations, trying to paint me as an unfit father, all because she wanted to keep the house and the money. I knew her game. I stayed calm, presented my case with the facts, and fought hard to keep my relationship with my kids intact. It wasn't easy, but I knew I had to stand my ground. In the end, the court awarded me primary custody, citing her unstable behavior and her history of deception. Looking back, I realize how much I was blind to for so long. I thought I knew my wife, but she was just a master manipulator hiding her true self. Her lies, her affair, her theft, they all shattered the life I thought we shared. I learned that trust is fragile, and sometimes people are willing to betray everything for their own gain. I also learned that revenge isn't about petty payback, but about protecting yourself and reclaiming your dignity. Now, I'm rebuilding my life. The house is quiet without her, but it's finally mine again. I've started therapy to deal with the emotional scars, and I've become more cautious about who I trust. I still think about her sometimes, about how she lied and betrayed me, but I also feel a strange sense of relief. I'm free from the chaos she brought into my life. The most important thing I've learned is to never ignore the signs of betrayal, no matter how much you love someone, because sometimes love isn't enough to save you from the nightmare. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: pay attention to the red flags, keep your eyes open, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Trust is fragile, and when it's broken, the fallout can be devastating. But you can survive it, rebuild, and come out stronger. I did. And though it's been a hell of a ride, I finally feel like I'm back in control of my life. That's my story. Thanks for listening.